Hi everybody, welcome to the lecture Mastering Interview Questions with the STAR method. So interview questions can come in different types of styles. We have our technical, more hands-on type of interview questions. Tell me how you assemble a minor tray in the assembly area. That is a technical question. It's asking for a hard technical skill. Um, but then on the flip side of that, we have behavioral interview style questions, which focus more on assessing how you react in certain situations, if you have how you handle communication barriers, teamwork, those soft transferable skills. So with any approach to these questions, you should be using what we call the STAR method. However, when you are thinking about behavioral types of questions, it's really important to focus on using the STAR acronym. That will kind of help guide you through the question, your answer, and the full response for your interviewer. So part of your homework for this week is to pose 3 different types of behavioral style questions for your discussion board. So please do so after watching this lecture. You'll have a better understanding of exactly what is being required. So why is the STAR method important? Well, first, when an interviewer asks you a question and you're not entirely sure how to answer it, or you have a lot of details you could give, the STAR method is going to allow you to create a clear and structured response. It will help you avoid rambling and only focus on critical details. Using this method also demonstrates critical skills such as problem solving, teamwork, decision-making abilities, and gives concrete examples of your qualifications. This gives very specific details rather than a general broad statement that could be used anywhere. This will also allow you to highlight relevant experiences. So even though you may not have had this exact role before, so let's use sterile processing, you may have had a situation where you had to deal with a difficult coworker, and that might be the question. You could bring in a similar situation that you've had before and make it relevant to the current question being asked. This framework also allows you to build confidence because it gives you a polished professional answer. So again, interview questions have to be practiced. You have to practice different types of interview questions before you start your interview, just so you're prepared. You have some answers already established, kind of, in your back pocket that you can tailor to what's being asked. This will also help impress your interviewer because it will give a prepared and thoughtful response. And it's based on your real life, a real scenario that you have incurred during your professional work experience. It also allows you to reflect and prepare. So it helps you identify and articulate different types of challenges you may have had, but it also will allow you to reflect on the achievements as well. So what is the STAR framework? Well, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So the question posed is going to ask to describe the situation you are in. So let's use, describe a time where you've had a difficult coworker. How did you handle that challenge? So you would describe the situation, and then you would describe the task you had to do. Now, whether there was a specific challenge, you had to, have a meeting with just, your coworker, or you had to get upper management involved. What was the task? And then A stands for action. Describe the action you took. Did you take initiative to try to resolve the problem? And then the result. You want to describe or highlight the outcome of the action. So, describe the time where you had a difficult coworker. You could describe that you approached the coworker in a neutral setting. You explained the facts of what was going on. Is there something that you could do to improve, or, how can we resolve the issue? That shows that you have described the task, and then the action you took, which you took initiative to approach the subject. You tried to resolve the issue. And then the result was we had clear communication. We figured out there was a miscommunication in our daily tasks and routine, and we were able to resolve our issue and continue working, in a pleasant environment. So STAR framework seems like a lot of work, but what it does is it has you focus on the problem and then what you did to resolve a problem or to achieve, a favorable outcome. This slide is a breakdown of the STAR method similar to what I described in the last slide, but we're going to break it down a little further in a different situation. So the situation, set the stage with context. During my internship at ABC Company, the task, I was responsible for creating a new filing system. The action, I developed a color-coded system, and the result was a measurable success in this case. Efficiency improved by 20%. So this question could have asked, describe a time where you had to take initiative during a new job employment, what was your task and what was your outcome? So these are behavioral types of interview questions. They're asking for the task, but then they're asking if there was anything in that in between that you did for that favorable outcome. So the importance of results. If you are able to quantify, that is encouraged. However, in some situations, you may not be able to put a number on the question. So when you can quantify, it allows you to connect outcomes to the broader goals. So this example gave, customer satisfaction increased 15% due to the new protocol. So again, serial processing might be a little difficult to give numbers, especially when you're just in a internship or beginning role. But keep that in mind as you go forward for potential new interviews. Okay, here is another example, STAR in action. So the question that the interviewer is asking, tell me about a time you noticed a mistake that could have affected patient safety. So for the situation, while inspecting instruments after sterilization, I noticed a small crack in a surgical instrument that had been approved for use. The task, my responsibility, was to ensure all instruments met quality standards and were safe for patient use. The action, I immediately reported the issue to my supervisor, removed the damaged instrument, and conducted a thorough inspection of the batch to ensure that no other instruments were compromised. The result, the issue was resolved without delay to the surgical schedule, and the team implemented additional inspection protocols to prevent future occurrences. Now this is very specific, and if you notice, it was a very concise answer. There wasn't more detail than needed to be given. The surgical instrument wasn't described what it was or how you couldn't find it anywhere, a replacement anywhere, and it took 3 hours. All that extra information was removed, and you kept the answer clear and concise and focused. Okay, here is another type of behavioral interview question. Describe a time when you had to collaborate with the team to meet a tight deadline. So it gives the example, our department was tasked with reprocessing a large volume of instruments for an emergency surgery following a major trauma case. My role was to work with the decontamination team to ensure quick yet thorough cleaning and sterilization. The action was that I communicated with my team members they needed to prioritize the set. And the result was that reprocessing was completed in record time and the surgery proceeded without delay. So this is a great example of how a question asking, for a tight deadline to be met and how that was accomplished. Okay, some common mistakes to avoid. Being too vague. Again, there's a happy medium. You need just enough information to get the full picture, but you don't need too much and you also don't need too little. Skipping steps or only focusing on the action. So if you had a couple of different steps that were in that process that were extremely important to the outcome, those should be talked about and discussed. And last but not least, if you have a measurable outcome, you should be talking about it. And if you don't, that's okay too. Not all of our answers are quantifiable.